specific steps for individuals. Hypothetically, let's say you're a parent and you have a teen who's struggling with trying to stop a sexual behavior they haven't been able to stop, or your spouse is trying to stop a behavior, or you are trying to stop sexual behavior. A friend, whoever, if you're trying to help someone in the process, what are some specific things that we can do? Number one, admit that it's a real issue. You need to recognize this really is something that people, Christians, are struggling with. I was on my way home from downtown Nashville one afternoon, driving west on I-40, or attempting to drive west on I-40, which was very difficult at that time because everybody was just stopped. You might move a foot and sit there 3 minutes, move another foot. I'm sure many of you have experienced that in the Nashville area in the past. Well, I had the AM radio station on, so every once in a while we get a traffic report, and consistently, I wasn't hearing anything about I-40 westbound. And eventually made it, kind of out to the White Bridge Road area, and you're just getting up the hill on the other side of that. And in comes this traffic report. It says, we're getting inquiries about I-40 westbound out of Nashville. We've checked with the Highway Patrol, and we're here to tell you that there is not a problem on I-40 westbound. And no sooner had those words come out of the speaker on my radio than I rounded kind of the top of the hill, and I could see this billows of smoke coming up off the highway. And I thought, that sure looks like a problem. And sure enough, as I got a little bit over the hill, I could see this car was just blazing right there on the side of the highway. And I thought, well, if that's not a traffic problem on I-40, I'd hate to see a traffic problem on I-40. But the point is, just because the people at the radio station were not able to see it, and we're not hearing about it from what they thought were reliable sources, they're making the assumption, because we don't see it, we're not hearing about it, it must not be there. Well, as Christians, if we're not in a position of we know somebody who's struggling with this, or we ourselves have had this struggle, so if we're not seeing it, not hearing about it, we may have this belief, oh, that's not really an issue. Christians don't really struggle with that kind of stuff. Just because we don't see it and hear it doesn't mean it's not there. When there are probably 4,000 other people sitting on that highway at that moment, watching this big billowing blaze on the side of the road. So we need to recognize, this is a real issue. And we need to realize that it's highly likely somebody in your family is struggling in some way with sexual behavior. I frequently get emails. I never thought I would be typing this email or phone call. I never thought I'd need to call you. Had scheduled a presentation in one church, and I got a call or an email. I can't remember now what the communication mode was, but I was contacted by the youth ministry. Said, we've got some parents who want to know exactly what the content of this is. So I sent back and said, this is exactly, topic for topic what we're going to talk about. Got there to do the presentation and found out that, one of the parents of a teen, 16-year-old, not the parent 16, the teen was 16 years old. The parent said, no, I'm not going to let my teen come to that. I don't want my teen hearing about that kind of stuff. He doesn't have that problem. Well, about 2 months later, I got word back that this parent had just found out that this 16-year-old not only had a pretty major porn addiction, but also had been molesting and having sex with girls in their youth group. Typically, until the moment we find out, our spouse or our brother or our teenager or our younger than teenager child, typically until the minute we find out, we're probably pretty sure they don't really struggle with that. I'm not saying that every single person has sexual struggles. I am suggesting that just by sheer statistics, almost every individual in our churches is in some relationship with someone who's dealing with sexual struggles. Father, mother, sister, brother, child, somehow. So I'm just saying we need to recognize, if we're going to deal with this issue, we need to recognize there is a chance that somebody within our family may be having these problems. If somebody is willing to come to you and share, this is a struggle I'm having. Parents, please hear what I'm saying here. If your teen finally gets the courage because they've been dealing with a lot of guilt over sexual behavior, and they finally summon up the courage to come and tell you, I'm really struggling with internet pornography. I'm really struggling with my sexual behavior with this person that I'm romantically involved with, or whatever the struggle is. If they finally have the courage to come and talk with you, child, spouse, whoever, do your very best to just listen. No real response other than listening at first. There will be a time likely that you need to vent. There will be a time you need to express your shock, your surprise, your disappointment, your hurt, your anger, whatever it is. That will likely need to come out. But at that moment, when somebody is being vulnerable with you and saying, this is a real struggle I'm fighting, in that moment, do your best to simply listen and hear what they're saying. Try to hear their struggle. Get an understanding for it. Get a picture. What is this struggle like? When is this a struggle for you? What tends to be going on when you find yourself turning to this behavior? How long has this been an issue? What's it been like for you? If you've been trying to stop this and haven't been able to, what's that experience been for you? Listen and get a picture of what their struggle's like.